Can everyone hear me? Hello? Yes? Okay, are we in the room? Okay, brilliant. So my name is Jenny and I'm the events manager here at FLUX, and on behalf of myself and Chris, our managing director, I'd love to welcome all you here tonight for this very, very special and unique event. And an album launch by the irrepressible talent that is Temperamental Miscellaneous. And also to note that it's a wonderful dedication to the late Frank Murray, and it's so great to see so many of you here tonight to celebrate him as well. Okay. So a little bit about FLUX, not for long, but our ethos here and our mission at FLUX is to truly support and promote people working within all sectors of creative industries and practices. Both members and non-members, we strive to encourage them to progress in their practice and also encourage them to celebrate their creative achievements like Elaine is tonight. And in whichever way we can do that, whether it's hosting them in our event space, our gallery space, or providing them with studio space, art spaces, or else our project space as well is open for everyone to use. And also, just engaging with the FLUX community is also a brilliant thing to offer both members and non-members. So Elaine Adamczyk-Harrington is a multidisciplinary artist, rapper, educator, and whose work critiques systems of power while celebrating working class resilience. Now, Elaine has been a member here at FLUX since August, and I can say she's truly embedded herself in our community. Not only it's wonderful to see her development of her own visual arts practice, but she's been a great collaborator with a lot of our FLUX members, and it has also brought a vibrant energy into the building and on a weekly basis by hosting hip-hop classes here in our project space. Woo! Go Elaine! She honestly is a brilliant asset to FLUX, and it's just been wonderful having her here so far. Better keep it up. So honestly, it's been a true pleasure to be able to host this for her tonight and actually bring her full artistic vision to life. I can say honestly, from a kernel of an idea a few months ago and having worked with Elaine in various stages throughout this process, and everything you witness here tonight on the walls and everything you're going to experience tonight in this room, every single element has been executed with a massive amount of thought, passion and determination, and with a meticulous attention to detail like I've never seen before. And if there's another thing I've witnessed in Elaine, it's in every aspect of her work, from her visual art to her poetry, her lyricism, to her music, her hip hop, to even her merch, and of course every single person that's actually going to contribute tonight, she has chosen to speak. Nothing happens by chance and nothing is left to chance with Elaine. Everything is ruthlessly and unapologetically intentional and carries deep, deep meaning. And that brings me on to the colour theme of the album here tonight. And it being the first of a series of 4 that Elaine will be releasing. So the colours tonight, red, black and white. So I'm going to read this properly now. 2 seconds so I don't get this wrong. So red symbolises revolution, fire and blood, representing wounds both open and unhealed. Black symbolises desolation, poverty, sorrow and loss. White symbolises bandages, surrender, cleansing and purity. And combined, they speak to suffering and recovery, resistance and resilience, and how pain fuels creativity and defiance. And I think it's safe to say that Elaine herself is the embodiment of all of those themes described. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome the woman on stage here tonight to actually kick off proceedings. So enjoy your night, and let's give her a big whopper round of applause to get the night going.
Hello there. Thank you very much, Jenny Keogh, for that wonderful introduction. Yeah, you're all very welcome here tonight to FLUX. It has been a pleasure and I do intend to keep it up. Nothing could stop me from keeping it up, to be honest with you. So it's amazing, and I want to accredit my energy that often my colleagues and collaborators and family comment on to God first and foremost. There will be a lot of thanks, and I hope that that doesn't offend anybody, but that is a very important thing for me to kickstart this night with. with. I want to also thank you all for your presence, for your acceptance of me as an artist that has grown. We're looking at these works that, if you look at Dominoes, the original version was written in 2009. So this is spanning, back to when I was a young gun writing lyrics first. So although I am the same girl at the core of me, I have grown and I have become a person of faith. So that is very important for me to honestly, in front of you all, say that tonight. That is very important. So first of all, as well, give yourselves a round of applause because you're so welcome to the party. Yes. Now, honestly, thank you very much. I want to talk about Frank now for a minute. So Frank Murray was my former manager in the early phase of my work, spanning from Dominoes through to Step in the Ring. And if you see me pointing like this, it's because the works go like this in a chronological order around the room, thanks to the fabulous curation of Jenny here. Another round of applause. She curated the whole... So yeah, your hands will be sore at the end because I'm a fan of the old Bula bus, you know what I mean? But back to Frankie. So Frankie invested a lot into me. Now, it's easy to say that someone who manages you can invest money. And I mean, he would have produced the video for Dominoes, which was then video produced by Shimmy Marcus and was produced by Mark Lowndes musically. But the support that Frank gave me emotionally and creatively was nuanced. It was subtle and powerful. So one example I want to talk about is when I remember driving in a car with Frank Murray. Now, Frank would have managed the likes of the Pogues and Shane MacGowan and Thin Lizzy, okay? So, of course, when I heard that Frank Murray's partner, Elaine Gurley, wanted to work with me, of course I said, yes, I have to. So she took me under her wing. It would be not a full picture if I said it was just Frank. It was Elaine as well. And she's with us in spirit. She lives over in Texas now in her hometown. And she sends all her props to us for this event. So I remember driving in the car with Frank and Elaine in front of NCAD. We were driving to a gig or something like that. And I remember I was reciting one of my works. It was Home Comes the Rover, which I had written for the president, Mr. Higgins. And I remember reading it. It was in the back of the car and I was reciting the poem, And I remember reading the line, metronome tale, measuring pleasure and woe, of what canine's thoughts prevail, I endeavour to know. He talking about that metronome tale. And what did Frankie say? Metronome tale. I like that. You know what I mean? He just gave that subtle little bit of props to me, And I thought, wow, someone accepts my lyrics, someone is embracing my lyrics, and he knows, he understands, because he had that sense of awareness of creative language, of music and that. And on that note, I'll finish my anecdotal stories of having Frank in my life at that phase of my artistry and my music and my lyricism, by saying how it wasn't only me. Of course, the mighty Steph and the Lost Brothers and other bands, even Scary Era, I believe that he held down a DJ Mech and Re-Raw at the time when they were coming up, the first hip-hop crew in Dublin, one of the most prevalent. But I remember Frank just casually telling me a little story about being on a plane with Shane MacGowan and the Pogues, and they were going on tour, and Shane was doodling, probably on a napkin or something on the plane. And Frank was telling me that he said to Shane, you must keep up the drawings. And in the spirit of drawings, if you look around, you'll see I have collaborated with my own cousin Jennifer to produce drawings. So all the forms of art are relevant. All of them are connected. Tonight is a celebration of those fabulous crossovers, of the arts. So, the fact that Shane MacGowan got his encouragement from Frank, and I benefited from that same encouragement from that same figure, is something worth celebrating. It's not a tribute to Frank's life. That would take a bigger event. This is just a little thank you and a little gesture of acknowledging his part in that early span of my artistry. So he told Shane MacGowan to keep on drawing. And sure enough, before Shane died, I think a year before, didn't he release a book of beautiful illustrations? So never stop encouraging people, even if you're not in a managerial role or whatever. That's what I wanted to say on that note. So big round of applause for Frank Murray one more time. Thank you, Frankie. And thank you for listening to me. Now, I'm going to invite Karl Parkinson, O'Devany Gardens. You know, you're often introduced by where you're from. I get that as well. Do you get that a lot? I mean, it's relevant, right? No, fingless rapper, right? So O'Devany's author and poet and friend, and I've worked with Karl for many years, and I'm very privileged to have him. He's going to say a few words just to connect in that sense of musicality and the bands and that era, inspiring the generation of poets that we became. Now, he's my senior by a few years, so he has more. You know what I mean? But yeah, so he's going to explore some musical influences and talk about the creative crossovers and the role of bands and that. So without further ado, please put your hands together for Karl Parkinson. Thank you.
Cheers. How are you all? Yeah, I'm an ODG, O'Devany Gardens head, you know, so this has nothing to do with it, but a little anecdote there. I worked on this little project with, I was telling yourself there, it's a little thing about drug trafficking, people getting trafficked in. There was a little animation and I done some of the voice work on it, because my mate works down there. And he was saying, you know, there could be some danger because there's you're interfering in people's business, which is drug dealing. And I said, I'm from O'Devany Gardens, I don't give a fuck. To be honest, do you know what I mean? I don't care where you're from. So that was nothing to do with what tonight, but just ladies know who I am. So I wrote a little about poetry and song, yeah. So to be honest now, yeah, Elaine, you asked me to write this about, that's how I knew Elaine from, obviously spoken word was how I first met you. But was that crossover between poetry, hip hop, all of those things. I didn't know Frank, of course, personally myself, but obviously I know Tin Lizzy and the Pogues, who doesn't, you know what I mean? Legendary Irish bands. And the two frontmen, obviously in particular, Phil Lynott, Shane MacGowan, they have that place in the canon of not just Irish rock, but world rock music, alongside Sinead O'Connor, Dolores O'Riordan, people like that, you know what I mean? A great quartet there. But MacGowan, I would say, is probably, you know, was regarded as a poet more. But for me, they're all poets, you know what I mean, of a kind. Because the distinction between lyric, song, poetry is a very recent thing in the long, long history of poetry and song. Coming from just the written word, pamphlets, printing presses. But the oral tradition is much, much older and longer, you know. And back then, there was no real separation of the forms, right? So Homeric poems were chanted and sung, accompanied by a lyre. It's where the word lyric comes from. And we have our own bardic tradition. And myself and other poets, word artists, I would call it, from my generation, like Elaine, even though I'm a little bit older. Miss Temperamental. In many ways, we're kind of more in a way from that oral tradition, even though I write books and I've written lots of books. Just a few plugs there, you know. The Blocks, that's the name of the novel. But, you know, rapper, spoken word, poet, bowron, beater, actor, visual artist, you know, Renaissance woman, you know what I mean? So, but I've been mixed into all of those kind of forms as well. Today they call it a multidisciplinary, if you know what I mean. So, but they've always been there. Bob Dylan, Patti Smith, Tupac, those kind of artists, I think, blurred the lines of that practice. And for myself, my earliest creative inspiration was mostly musical, not poetry, you know. So Bob Marley was my favourite singer when I was a little nipper, which is very strange to be a little nipper and love Bob Marley, you know. But I was smarter than the average bear. That's a Yogi Bear reference for all the older people in the audience there. It was Yogi Bear, yeah. So like everyone else with music, it's so important when you're a teenager, when you're young. So for me and my little gang of friends in the Blocks in O'Devany was the Verve and Oasis, Stone Roses, those kind of people. And that brought us in deeper into rock music, into the Beatles and the Who and Tin Lizzy and so on and so on. My two big massive influences were Dylan and the Doors. So like Saint Bob and Mad Jim, you know what I mean? And I kept seeing them and reading about them as being revered as poets, you know, and that their literary influence was the Beats and Ginsberg and Kerouac and Rimbaud and all of these people. Rimbaud, not Rambo, not Sylvester Stallone, the poet. So when I started to write down these words, lyrics and all, my first thing was I wanted to be in a band, you know, with me mate. Me mate John, we bought guitars, met a few like-minded people, started a band. Didn't work out, but I should think everyone should start a band when you're a teenager, just to do it, for the crack, you know what I mean? So can you do it? You never know. it didn't work out because it was loud of youngfellas with loud of, like, coming from a mad place, full of all that crap, and then you're just like, I hate you. You know what I mean? Like, you again. You know what I mean? Of course, I was the singer, and because I wrote all the lyrics. So when I finished, I had all these lyrics, you know, and all these poems, and I was reading more, and then I was like, these are poems, these are things. And I just went out to open mics, and that's where I met Elaine, and Stephen James Smith, and Colin Keogh, and all these other people. And sometimes these things happen where there's a whole bunch of people just went out thinking, I'm a lonely little poet, lives in the flats, and then there was like, oh, there's like loads of them like me. You know, and we were all, and we crossed over, and we influenced each other. But the first time I saw Elaine, I said, you know when someone has that thing, or like charisma or talent or whatever it is that you go, I'm going to watch her now. And, you know, the audience is going to say, Rick, shut up now talking about it, and let's have a look and listen. So that's what, hopefully we'll get a lot more of that now tonight. What they call that in hip-hop is real recognises real, you know what I mean? So going back to Frank Murray though as well, I'll end on that, is that, you know, it's people like him, tour managers, promoters, editors, venue owners, people who put on the spaces, you know, the so-called people in the background, the same all over the world, the people that aren't appreciated as much, that enable Elaine, me, other people to do what we do as well, and that they're all just as important, I think, so, and allows Elaine to keep doing her devotion to our art, you know, making boundary, pushing, inspiring art in all the different ways that she does, and long may it continue.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, thanks.